In this lesson, you're going to learn a powerful keyword research technique we call Zen Matrix. But before we dive in, let's take a look at how we measure keyword competitiveness. And you may want to bookmark this section and go over it until it makes sense, because this is the core of SEO. Keyword competitiveness is really about the supply and demand in the market. The search engine is the market. The supply is the number of pages that match a search query, and the demand is the search volume for that query. In other words, the number of times people make a particular search. We as content publishers are suppliers. We are adding to the supply of pages in the index. Our jobs as SEOs is to identify a demand, in other words, a search query that we can serve. In other words, a query that we can answer with our content. And we need to make sure that we can compete against the current supply, or the number of pages in the index that already match that query. And to discover the demand for a keyword, you can use just about any decent keyword tool. And to discover the available supply, you can use a handy hack called the Allintitle operator. Allintitle is a Google operator you can use in the browser to discover how many pages contain a keyword in the title. For example, type in Allintitle dentist in London in quotes, and you'll see just how many pages contain that phrase in the title. This is the supply, or the number of competitors. Now modify your query to a long tail search like Allintitle private dentist in London in quotes, and you'll see there is significantly less competition. Analyzing the supply and demand of search queries is how we determine what search queries we might be able to rank for. We're looking for search queries that are not too competitive but have enough search traffic to make it worth the effort. And just like when you evaluate a market to get into, the more demand there is for something and the less supply there is for it, the more of a chance we have to compete in that market. Put another way, the higher the search volume a query has and the less competition it has, the better it is for us to target. And this brings us to the powerful technique I mentioned at the beginning of this lesson, the Zen Matrix. The Zen Matrix was developed to help you zone in on the best keywords to target at any point in your SEO journey. Because generally speaking, even long-tail keywords can be competitive across most markets, which can sometimes leave you scratching your head about where to start. So once you conduct your keyword research, which I covered in previous lessons, you should have a list of long-tail keywords that are relevant to your website. The next step is to figure out which of those keywords to target and when. And this is where the Zen Matrix comes in. Zen Matrix is an advanced but simplified SEO method to categorize your keywords into the right stage of your SEO campaign. The method is based on the relationship between the supply and demand of a search query. Remember, the search volume is the demand and the number of pages we discover using the Allintitle operator is the supply. Zen Matrix contains 4 categorization zones: the Decay Zone, the Mature Zone, the Opportunity Zone, and Candyland. Let's take a look at each zone. The Decay Zone contains keywords with decreasing search volume. These tend to be seasonal keywords as well as keywords that were once a hot trend, like the Atkins diet. Try to avoid keywords in this zone. The Mature Zone contains keywords with high demand and high supply. These keywords tend to be proven winners, and we know this because of the high number of competitors. Ranking for keywords in this zone requires at the very least high quality content. So if you're targeting keywords in the Mature Zone, analyzing the top competitors to see what works best is crucial. But if you are targeting keywords in this zone, then don't expect to rank quickly and consider your resources carefully before you commit. I recommend you avoid targeting keywords in this zone if you're just starting out or if your website doesn't have a lot of authority. However, these are high value keywords with lots of traffic, so you should plan to target these at some point in your SEO campaign, ideally when you're already ranking for keywords in the next 2 zones. Keywords in the Opportunity Zone make ideal targets for content publishers with limited resources or websites with low authority. These keywords do have low search volume but also low competition, which means a chance to rank. Keep your eyes peeled in this zone for hidden gems like keywords that are likely to rise in traffic in future. For example, when a new product that few people know about enters the market, there is bound to be low content for that product on the web. If that product is likely to take off, this could be an opportunity to create content and rank early. And finally, when you target keywords in this zone, make sure you target plenty of them to make up for the low search volume. And then we have Candyland. This is the zone where the ideal keywords live. These are the keywords that have decent or even high search volume and low or even moderate competition. And more importantly, these keywords present an opportunity to rank fast. The bad news is that everybody is searching for keywords in Candyland. It usually takes a lot of good research to stumble upon these keywords, so don't despair if you don't find any to start with. Now, as you can imagine, categorizing keywords into each zone manually is not for the faint-hearted, or anybody else for that matter. We need keyword tools to help us quickly evaluate the supply and demand of keywords. But how exactly do you decide what zone each keyword in your list belongs to? Well, for that we need to understand the keyword golden ratio. And that's what we'll be covering in the next lesson. I'll see you there.